Welcome. My name is Agnes Weber, and I'm here today because I have this theory. And I noticed that whenever I applied this theory, it unlocked some of my biggest opportunities, some of my greatest moments of joy. It even won me awards. And the good part is, you can do it too. It's almost like a muscle. You do have to train it a little, but I promise you that by the end of this talk, you will be able to apply this theory yourself. You curious? I see a few eager faces there. It is what I call my second look theory. And the very first time that I realized I'm quite good at applying this theory was just another ordinary day in Amsterdam. I was on my bike, like we all are, when something caught my eye. And I went a bit like, wait, what? I started biking faster because I was like, I need to take a second look at this. But as I was doing that, I realized, wait, no one else is looking? I mean, don't you see what I see? And do you want to know what I saw? It was a guy biking with one hand, but in the other hand, he was balancing an entire Christmas tree. And I just couldn't stop smiling, so I had to film this thing. And by the time that I got home, I showed it to my roommate, and he was a bit like, well, that's just what we do, nothing special. And I get it, but as the months went on, one day it would be a Christmas tree, next day it was an IKEA closet. These objects, they kept changing, but one thing never did. I was always standing on the sideline, having the best time, while no one else looked twice. And don't get me wrong, I really get that this is ordinary stuff for Dutch people. But I knew that if I could just take or get people to take that second look and see what I see, that they would see the value that I see in this. So my way of getting this done was getting back home, sitting in front of my laptop, and editing a video. And the day that I uploaded this video on Instagram is when I learned that taking a second look is always worth it. Sometimes it's even worth 15 million views. That is 15 million people who maybe just had a little smile, or maybe they looked at their country from a new perspective. Doesn't matter, but it's all because of taking a second look. And I can hear you thinking, well, Agnes, that's easy to say. You're in Amsterdam, it's a buzzing city, there's something happening around every corner. Fair enough. I'll prove to you that the second look theory works even, or especially, in the most ordinary places. So, this is where we'll go. We will all go together to the most ordinary place in your home, the wardrobe. Because this is where I was standing in 2022 when I reached for my favorite pair of flared jeans. I love them, and as I put them on, I noticed something. The seam was getting loose. So I stared at this hole and was like, all right, we all know what that means. Time to throw them away and get a new pair, right? And to be really honest, I was just about to do that. But I had a problem, because these jeans had value that was really hard to replace for me. And you want to know why? They were my TEDx jeans. They were the jeans that I wore when I was standing on this red dot for the very first time. So I think everyone tonight can agree that means something, that's something special. You can't really replace that. So I was forced to take a second look. And as I did that, I think I first called my mom, and I was like, I have a jeans, it has a hole, what do I do? She's like, well, you go to a tailor. And I'm like, well, I've never been to one, so okay. But yeah, I guess moms are always right, so I put it on my to-do list. I do have to admit, I think it took me around 6 months until I finally hopped on my bike, went to the tailor. But when I walked in, I met this guy, Vangelis. And as he took my jeans, I looked around and I was like, why have I never been here before? And why does repair feel so dusty, so outdated to me? Like, sorry, but this is not really exciting, right? It's just repair. Or is it? And as I left the tailor that day, these questions didn't really leave me. And I just knew I had to find an excuse to go back. So I went back to my wardrobe, grabbed another pair of jeans. No, those were like pants, actually, that were a bit too loose on the top. So I went back to the tailor, back to take a second look and ask him a few more questions, because I just couldn't let go of that thought that maybe something else is hiding here. Maybe you can look at repair in a new perspective. And in an attempt to answer this question, this is where MENDED was born. And at MENDED, we work together with brands, with people, and we help them make repair easy, make it playful, make it premium. And it all really started together with my co-founder in this very first office, where we had a whiteboard. We were really proud of that whiteboard. And we would start putting things together, and all of a sudden we were like, wait, that's it. A better way to keep clothing in play. That is what we're doing. Great. Now we just have to figure out what's better. Well, in the beginning it meant, well, we have to get the best craftsmen in the land. So, surprise, surprise, Vangelis joined our network. The second part meant, well, I guess we have to make this as easy as buying new. So if you sit on your couch and you're ordering something from Zalando with a few clicks, well, that's exactly how repair has to feel, right? So we did that, and it was great. The not so great part was that it only solved one part of the problem. That's when we realized that making it easy wasn't enough. The bigger problem was value, because people still started asking us, well, what's the point? Like, is it really worth it to fix it? Are my clothes really worth it? So I was determined to get more of these stories. That meant I quite literally sat on the terraces of Amsterdam and I asked people, okay, can you take a second look at this and tell me all the reasons why you don't repair? And they started telling me things like that. You know, well, repair, it feels almost cheap. Like, it's not really a status symbol. And look at secondhand. They would start comparing it with that, because they went, secondhand used to mean, what? You can't afford new clothing? But all of a sudden, it's what the cool kids do. So then the secondhand clothing had even more value, to the point where even brands started selling new stuff as vintage. And off it went. So this is the journey that we went on. But with repair, it really hasn't happened yet. The problem was that I couldn't spend all my time sitting on the terraces of Amsterdam, and this is where my unfair advantage come in. Because online, I talk to 90,000 people every day. And let me tell you, they talk back. Example comes because I was on vacation with my boyfriend. When I saw this dress, it was love at first sight, even on second look. And I was like, okay, I have to have this thing. And I kept wearing it again and again. But I will never forget the one day I got this comment. Okay, let's read it together. Why you always wear the same blue dress? You broke or something? Okay. And I was like, fine, maybe I have to accept it. Maybe sometimes people don't see the value that you see. Maybe that's just how it is. Or you can train people to see it too. So instead of replying to the comment, I actually turned it in a full-blown ad for my washing machine. I was like, hey sir, let me introduce you to this mind-blowing concept of putting dirty clothes into a washing machine and they come out clean. So you can wear them again and again. I know, shocking. And yes, it was a funny reel, but it proved the second part of my theory, that if you see value where others stopped looking, you can train them to see it too. And that is exactly the role that I play at MENDED, where I train brands to make the value of repair almost impossible to ignore. So instead of looking at it as a problem, it all of a sudden turns into this golden opportunity to reconnect with your customer, because all of a sudden you use it as a means to save that relationship. Yes, these jeans, they are replaceable, but the customer relationship? Not so much. So, one example, this is the brand I'm the Angels, and they were like, okay, we get it, we get that value, so let's put it front and center. It was on their website, on the loyalty program, and yeah, just completely changing the way repair looks and feels like. But I'll never forget the first launch when we had 100 repairs. They were meant to last for 3 months, and they were all gone within 15 minutes. So we were like, okay, it works online, so let's take it offline. And even there, just slots kept selling out, where before that they all thought, well, who even cares about repair? And the biggest thing that happened, it all of a sudden went from this dusty thing to something that's desirable. But it wasn't only our brand partners. All of a sudden, the whole industry kind of looked at it in a different way. Because I'm telling you, this would have been impossible to think of, that repair would be in the headlights. Like, we even had national TV show up. And now, isn't it wild to think that we would have missed all of this if we would have not gone back to the tailor for that second visit to take just this 1 second look? You remember the pants, right? From the second look. Well, 3 years later, I was wearing exactly those pants when we won Startup of the Year. And the awards kept on coming, to the point where we had to ask ourselves, okay, how many awards does repair really need? But it was never about the shiny objects. They were signals, and they were signals that the brands and the industry understood, because they said, watch out, there's value here. They proved that this is something worth looking at, and they proved that the second theory is worth it. The most important part, these signals, they went back to the first tailor, back to where the theory was first applied. So yes, the shiny objects are very fun, but let's not forget that the value always starts in the most ordinary moments. So this wouldn't be my talk if I wouldn't end it with the most ordinary story. Back in the day, when I was an ordinary kindergarten teacher. And we had one big problem. So many kids would show up with bananas in their lunchboxes as a healthy treat. I mean, I have quite some parents in the room. Is this something because it's an easy fruit to throw in the box? But like, I swear to you, an obsessive amount of bananas. So here I was, explaining to my precious 6-year-old that this is a very great banana and we shall eat it. And it was a negotiation every single day. So I tried a different theory. I sneaked to their lunch boxes, took out all the bananas before lunchtime. I took a toothpick, and I etched a little message into the banana. And even the kids that were kind of peeking were like, I can't see anything. Can you see something? No. Well, by the time lunchtime rolled around, one thing happened. The beautiful concept of oxidation. So the message would start appearing. And all of a sudden, the most dreaded, invaluable part in the lunchbox became the treasure. It became the one thing that they all wanted. And I promise you that nothing changed about the banana itself. We just changed their perspective of looking at it. And this way, we gave it value. So yes, it all comes down to the banana in a lunchbox. No, it all comes down to the second look theory, because we've been on this journey together now, where we talked about how it works, but we also talked about what you can miss. Because if you miss looking for value where others maybe stopped looking. You miss out on life, on opportunities, on very tasty bananas. You miss out on the greatest value that's sitting right beneath your fingertips. Maybe even you're literally sitting on gold right now, but you just didn't notice it. So, at the beginning of this talk, I promised you we would practice that muscle, right? Are we ready? We're gonna do it one time all together. So, I will need all of you to lift up your right hand. There's still some hands missing. Fantastic. And on the count of 3, we will all reach underneath our chair and take a second look. 1, 2, 3. Let's go. Oh, there's the first one. And as some of you might notice now, you were sitting on literal gold this whole evening. You just didn't notice it. And all it took was for you to take that second look. Thank you. Yeah.